Okay, tell me what happened.
She cut me.
Who cut you?
Downstairs, I don't know.
Okay. What did she cut you with?
A knife. I'm pregnant. She got me in my stomach.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
She cut you in your stomach?
I'm pregnant.
One quiet afternoon in Longmont, Colorado, the peace was shattered by a chilling 911 call. A trembling voice, mixed with anguished sobs, pleaded, She cut me. I'm pregnant. Please help me." The woman on the phone, Michelle Wilkins, claimed she was 7 months pregnant and had been brutally attacked. As emergency responders raced to the address she provided, her words echoed in their minds, fueling an indescribable sense of dread. A pregnant woman under attack? What could possibly be happening? But when they entered the house on Green Place, what they saw left them frozen in shock. Michelle lay on a bed in the basement, her body soaked in blood. Nearby, a small knife, likely the weapon, was discovered. Yet there was one detail that defied belief. Michelle claimed she was pregnant, but her body bore no signs of someone nearing the end of a pregnancy. Her stomach was flat. This raised a terrifying question in their minds. Was she truly the victim? Or was she lying? And then, the story behind this gruesome scene began to unfold. A horrifying tale of deceit and cruelty that no one could have anticipated. The information that came from dispatch was that there was a female that was 7 months pregnant, and her stomach is actually flat. On March 18, 2015, Michelle Wilkins, 26, called 911 from Longmont, Colorado, crying in pain and pleading for help after being attacked. She claimed to be pregnant, but when first responders arrived, they noticed something strange. Michelle showed no signs of pregnancy, despite being severely injured and covered in blood. This left them puzzled, but what was about to be revealed was far more horrifying.
1620 Green Place.
1620 what?
Green Place.
I can't understand the street.
Green Place.
Green Place. Green like the color?
Yeah.
The moment 911 dispatcher Beth Keir picked up the call, she was met with a trembling, broken voice filled with desperation. Beth's professional instincts kicked in. "Tell me what happened. Where are you injured?" Through sobs, the woman revealed the unimaginable. "I'm pregnant. Someone tried to cut open my stomach." The sheer horror of those words hung in the air, leaving Beth momentarily stunned. But she quickly regained her composure, knowing every second counted. What kind of person could commit such a heinous act? And could they still be nearby? Beth's heart raced as she worked to gather more details, all while reassuring the terrified caller that help was on the way.
She cut me.
Who cut you?
Downstairs, I don't know.
Okay, hold on.
Responded to.
Hang on. Hold on.
Please. I'm downstairs.
Okay, who cut you?
This girl I responded to was ready for that.
What did she cut you with?
A knife. I'm pregnant. She got me in my stomach.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
She cut you in your stomach?
I'm pregnant.
Okay.
It wasn't hard for the dispatcher to understand what this lady must be going through, and she asked if there was anyone else in the house.
How far along are you?
7 months.
7 months? Okay. Are you alone in the house?
I don't know.
You stay with me. Don't go to sleep. You stay with me. You're downstairs in the basement? And are you alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
As help was on its way, it was the dispatcher's duty to get any possible information from the injured Michelle, and she did just that.
Glasses.
She broke a glass? Did she stab you with the broken glass also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to hurt her.
Michelle, you need to think real hard and tell me who it is that did this. Tell me the person's name. Think real hard, okay? Don't go to sleep. Stay with me. Tell me who it is.
I don't know.
You don't know? Did she break into the house? Does she live there?
No.
Every word Michelle spoke seemed to drain what little strength she had left. Her voice trembled, each sentence a battle against the overwhelming pain and fear coursing through her. Yet somehow, through sheer willpower, she managed to piece together fragments of what had happened, offering critical details that hinted at the horror she had endured.
I need you to take a towel and put it on your wound. How many wounds do you have?
No. She just went off.
More than one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Was anyone else in the house when this happened?
Mm-mm.
No? Just you and her? Were you having a fight?
Mm-mm.
The 911 dispatcher stayed on the line, offering steady reassurance and keeping Michelle conscious as they awaited help. When responders finally arrived, they descended into the basement and were met with a horrifying scene. Michelle lay in a pool of blood, her body battered and broken, clinging to life.
Are they in the house yet?
She's downstairs.
Yeah, they're here.
Okay, I'll let you go.
The responders followed a chilling trail of blood that stretched from the bedroom into the utility room, leading them to a horrific discovery. Michelle lay on a bed, drenched in a pool of her own blood, with a small knife, its 3-inch blade smeared red, lying nearby. Blood stained the hallway and her clothes, painting a gruesome picture of the attack. But as the officers assessed the scene, one detail stood out, casting doubt on her story. Michelle had claimed she was pregnant, yet her appearance suggested otherwise. This inconsistency planted seeds of suspicion in the responders' minds, leaving them to question whether they were dealing with a victim or something more complicated.
Lieutenant Crew tells me that she wasn't pregnant, thinking that I just had a caller who was lying about that.
The officers who had come into the house to help Michelle suspected she was portraying a false narrative to them.
So I look at her and I'm just thinking that she's probably the suspect and the attacker, not the victim. She had lost the fight somehow.
Michelle's injuries were undeniable, gruesome and life-threatening. Her intestines were exposed and blood poured from her wounds at an alarming rate. Recognizing the severity of her condition, paramedics acted swiftly, rushing her to the hospital. Upon arrival, Michelle was unconscious, her body frail from the massive blood loss. She was immediately admitted to the emergency room in critical condition. But her claim of being pregnant raised unsettling questions. Was she truly attacked as she described, or was there a darker, more sinister story waiting to be uncovered? The officers, though skeptical of her account, wasted no time launching an investigation. Their first discovery deepened the mystery. The house where Michelle was found didn't belong to her. This revelation led to more questions. Why was she there? Whose home was it? As they dug deeper, the officers learned the house belonged to David Ridley and his 35-year-old wife, Dell Lane, who lived there with her 2 daughters. Bills and documents confirmed Dell as the homeowner. But this only added to the confusion. What was Michelle doing in the basement of their home? And where were the couple during the attack? The investigation took a shocking turn when officers discovered that Dell Lane had also been admitted to the same hospital as Michelle. But the reason for her admission was even more horrifying. Dell had also been brutally attacked and was undergoing treatment. Hospital staff described her arrival as nothing short of terrifying. Covered in blood, Dell had rushed into the hallway holding a baby, screaming hysterically, "Please save him. I don't matter. Just save him." The chaos of Dell's arrival, coupled with Michelle's condition, painted a chilling and deeply unsettling picture, one that was only beginning to unravel.
Hospital staff also mentioned that the lady of the house had come into the hospital earlier with a baby that she said she had prematurely.
Officers learned that Dell Lane was also pregnant, adding another layer of tragedy to an already horrific situation. It was impossible to fathom how distraught this mother must have been. As Dell underwent treatment, investigators turned to her husband, David Ridley, for answers. What he revealed painted a picture far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. David explained that around 2:04 p.m., Dell had called him, asking if he could stop by their daughter's school on his way home to complete some paperwork. He agreed and returned home shortly after, around 2:15 p.m., as the couple had planned to visit the hospital for Dell's prenatal checkup. But instead of a routine afternoon, David walked into a nightmare. In the basement, he found his wife in a horrifying state, covered in blood. There were no signs of forced entry, but the gruesome scene left him reeling. Then Dannell, still visibly shaken, dropped another bombshell. She claimed she had just suffered a miscarriage. She led David to the upstairs bathroom, where she said she had given birth to their unborn child in the bathtub. Desperate and terrified, David rushed Dannell and the baby to the hospital, completely unaware that another victim, Michelle Wilkins, lay critically injured in their basement. Back at the hospital, investigators remained puzzled. David had no knowledge of Michelle or why she was in their home, leading them to turn their focus to Dannell. Surely she could explain everything. Yet when questioned, Dannell initially claimed she remembered nothing about a woman in her basement. Her blank denial only deepened the mystery, leaving investigators with more questions than answers.
Okay, was anyone with you at your house today? No, I've been by myself all day. Well, I've got a problem. There was a young girl in the apartment. And she was cut. Because we've got officers there right now. At my house? Yes. You know how that happened? I don't. There wasn't anybody there when I left.
What's the deal with the girl?
I don't know. She said there was no girl at my house, and she kept asking me if I was by myself today, and I said I'm always by myself. I was getting ready for my doctor's appointment, and she was like, well, did you have any visitors today? And I said, no.
You sure you don't have that lady maybe she was talking about?
I don't know what's going on, sir. I really wish I did. I'm just about as confused as you guys are.
That's what I'm trying to figure it out.
As detectives pressed Dell Lane for answers in subsequent interviews, her story began to unravel into a chilling and increasingly disturbing account. She revealed that she had posted an advertisement on Craigslist offering free maternity clothes. Michelle Wilkins had responded to the ad, and Dannell invited her over to browse the items. For about an hour, the two women talked. Dannell described Michelle as kind and pleasant, but just as Michelle was preparing to leave, Dannell suddenly remembered she had some baby girl clothes in the basement that might interest Michelle. Dannell, expecting a boy, thought these would be of no use to her and offered them to Michelle. Once in the basement, the tone of Dannell's account shifted dramatically. Initially, she claimed that Michelle turned violent, attacking her with a knife from the counter. Dannell described a struggle where she managed to fight back, cutting her hand in the process and ultimately knocking Michelle unconscious. Believing Michelle to be dead, Dannell said she acted out of desperation and claimed she was trying to save the baby. As an expectant mother herself, she said she couldn't bear the thought of letting the baby die with its mother. What began as an ordinary meeting between two women, according to Dannell, had spiraled into a horrific act she justified as a bid to preserve life. But as her account continued, her inconsistencies and attempts to shift blame only deepened the investigators' suspicions about what truly happened in that basement.
She kept trying to hit me, and I asked her, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, stop. You know, I was grasping at her and she was grasping at me, and I had her down, and I'm like, just stop.
What happened next?
I think I kicked her. After she stopped moving, I got scared. I thought I killed her, and I didn't want the baby to die too.
What happened?
I'm not this kind of person. I don't do stuff like this. Like, I didn't know what to do.
What happened to the baby?
When she stopped moving, I started thinking I didn't want the baby to die too, so I got the knife that she had, and I tried to get the baby out.
Did you get the baby out? Okay, is that the baby that's in the other room?
For TV.
Okay.
Not mine.
Donnell claimed she had tried to save the baby by cutting open Michelle's abdomen, but this explanation immediately raised red flags for the police. If her intention was truly to help, why hadn't she called an ambulance? Instead, she chose the horrific act of performing a crude operation herself. Adding to the officer's suspicion was Donnell's ever-changing story. Initially, she denied knowing anything about the woman in her basement. Later, she claimed the fetus was her own baby, a statement that directly contradicted the evidence piling up against her. The inconsistency of her accounts painted a picture of someone desperately trying to hide the truth, leaving investigators to piece together the sinister reality of what had unfolded.
Is there a probability that the DNA for the baby won't match you?
No, she's lying.
100%?
As soon as Dell Lane learned that Michelle Wilkins had survived and was being treated in the same hospital, her story changed yet again. This time, she admitted Michelle had come to her house, but claimed that Michelle had attacked herself. Later, Donnell adjusted her statement further, insisting Michelle had attacked her first, forcing Donnell to act in self-defense. The shifting accounts left investigators more puzzled than ever. Then the case took an even darker turn. Doctors treating both women revealed a stunning truth. Dell Lane was never pregnant. Dr. Leslie Armstrong disclosed that when Donnell arrived at the hospital, she avoided receiving any treatment for herself, instead insisting that the fetus needed care. However, once doctors began examining her, they realized there was no fetus, and Donnell had fabricated her pregnancy. This revelation raised pressing questions. Why would she lie about something so significant, especially as her husband, David, mourned the supposed loss of their child? Investigators began to piece together a troubling picture. Donnell had claimed to be pregnant since April 2014, but David had never been allowed to accompany her to doctor's visits. Whenever they went to the hospital together, Donnell would make excuses to leave before seeing a doctor. Her due dates kept shifting, from November 2014 to December, and then to March 2015, but no baby ever arrived. Friends and family who dared question her were met with hostility. By the time of the attack on Michelle, Donnell had been lying about her pregnancy for over a year. As detectives dug deeper into her past, they uncovered a series of disturbing events that painted a picture of a woman deeply troubled by loss and willing to go to unimaginable lengths to maintain her web of lies. A history of tragedy and deception. Donnell's first marriage to Jason Cruz had lasted 12 years, during which they had 3 children. However, tragedy struck in 2000 when their youngest child, Michael Alexander Cruz, drowned at just 19 months old while playing near a neighbor's pond. The loss devastated Donnell, leading her and Jason to decide against having more children, and Donnell underwent a hysterectomy. Their marriage deteriorated further amid allegations of abuse. Jason was charged with domestic violence after an incident where he allegedly banged Donnell's head into a car. Although the charges were later dropped, their relationship ended in divorce in 2007. Following their separation, Donnell struggled to rebuild her life. She moved in with a new roommate, Robert Walsh, in 2010, and initially appeared soft-spoken and kind. However, Robert soon discovered her manipulative tendencies. Donnell lied about losing her job and failed to disclose that she had been fired. She was even arrested for failing to address a traffic violation warrant, leaving Robert to bail her out. Their living arrangement ended shortly after. Meeting David and the fabrication of a new life. Donnell eventually met David Ridley, whom she married. Shortly after, she claimed to be pregnant with his child. David, initially overjoyed, began to grow suspicious as Donnell refused to provide proof of her pregnancy. Friends also noticed inconsistencies, and one even voiced concerns on social media, suggesting Donnell might harm someone to cover up her lies. By March 2015, David reached his breaking point. He demanded proof of her pregnancy, threatening to end their relationship if she couldn't provide it. Donnell agreed to go to the hospital, but the fateful day ended not in clarity, but in horror. That was the day Michelle Wilkins arrived at Donnell's home in response to a Craigslist ad, unknowingly stepping into a nightmare. Michelle's revelations. Meanwhile, as Michelle regained consciousness in the hospital, she began to provide critical details that unraveled Donnell's lies. Michelle recounted how Donnell lured her into the basement under the pretense of offering baby clothes, only to violently attack her. Danelle's intentions were now clear. She had targeted Michelle in a desperate, horrific attempt to steal her baby and perpetuate her deception. The shocking truth of Danelle's fabricated pregnancy, compounded by her history of manipulation and loss, painted a harrowing portrait of a woman consumed by lies, ultimately leading to an unthinkable crime. Investigators now had the pieces to solve the mystery, but the depth of Danelle's deception left even seasoned detectives stunned.
When they wheeled me into the operating room, pain was starting to come online wrong. And this person standing over me put a gas mask over my face, and then everything faded out again.
Michelle revealed that she and her boyfriend, Dan Asik, had discovered her pregnancy 7 months before the incident. They were overjoyed to be expecting a baby girl, whom they had already decided to name Aurora. Excitedly preparing for their daughter's arrival, Michelle began searching for maternity clothes online. That search led her to a Craigslist advertisement posted by Dell Lane, a decision that would tragically change her life forever.
I was using Craigslist quite a bit when I was pregnant. I found a lot of things for Aurora. For the most part, I felt pretty set. I was just in the process of trying to find a crib. And in looking for that on the free section, there was an advertisement for maternity clothes.
Dell had drawn Michelle in with the promise of free maternity clothes, posting an inviting ad on Craigslist. Michelle, eager to prepare for her baby, arrived at Danelle's home around 11:51 a.m. She was greeted by Danelle, who appeared kind and welcoming, creating an atmosphere of trust.
She was holding her stomach like she was pregnant. As we went upstairs and into her bedroom, and she immediately started pulling out all the clothes that she was talking about, asked me which ones I wanted, put them in a bag for me.
After collecting everything needed, Michelle was about to leave, but Danelle kept talking to her, and Michelle had sensed some loneliness in her.
She seemed kind of lonely. She even talked about that she had 2 teenage daughters, and they didn't want to hang out with their mom, and her partner was at work all the time.
The two women chatted for nearly an hour, with Danelle appearing warm and engaging, putting Michelle at ease. Just as Michelle was about to leave, satisfied with the visit, Danelle made her next move. With a seemingly casual tone, she mentioned she had some additional baby clothes stored in the basement that might be useful. Trusting her host, Michelle agreed to take a quick look, unaware that this was the moment Danelle's sinister plan would unfold.
And I remember as I reached out and had my hand on the doorknob, and she said, "Oh, I might have one more thing downstairs. Do you want to come take a look at that?" And even though I had an intuitive sense that you have everything you need, it's time to go, there was another part of me that wrote that and said, "She's lonely, just be polite." And so she closed the door in front of me.
Michelle lingered in the house, her empathetic nature convincing her to stay a bit longer, despite a nagging feeling that she should leave. Danelle had mentioned more baby clothes in the basement, and Michelle, wanting to be polite, followed her downstairs. Once there, Danelle pretended to search for something, keeping Michelle distracted. As Michelle began to turn and head back upstairs, Danelle made her move. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted, and what happened next was beyond anything Michelle could have imagined. Danelle unleashed a terrifying and unimaginable attack.
Michelle stayed there with Danelle because she was empathetic, only to later discover that Danelle had something sinister planned for her. As soon as they reached the basement, Danelle pretended to search for something. Michelle tried to leave, but Danelle decided to do the unimaginable.
The moment Michelle heard Danelle's unsettling words, a chill ran down her spine. Shocked and uneasy, she instinctively knew something was wrong and wanted to leave immediately. But before she could make her way out, Danelle's demeanor changed completely.
She was looking really frantically in one of the rooms. And I just had this feeling, it's just time to go. And so I went to walk out, and so she would meet the stairs. And she struck me from behind. And my first thought was, did I have a spider on me? And she said, "Yeah, I think I got it." But then she started almost like grabbing at my back.
If you love me, you'll let me do this seemed like a statement from a psycho themselves. It was then Michelle felt unconscious and thought she was going to die.
She's grabbing me, she's touching me, and so we're wrestling, and she shoves me backwards into a bedroom. She started trying to choke me, but I was struggling, trying to peel her hands off of my neck. And so she ends up taking the lava lamp and holding it over me like she was about to shoot me. And I just told her that I don't know why you're doing this. I love you. And she just looked me directly in the eyes and she said, if you love me, you'll let me do this. And she broke the lava lamp over my head and took the broken end and stabbed me in the neck with it.
After regaining consciousness, battered and bleeding, Michelle mustered every ounce of strength she had left to call for help. Emergency responders arrived quickly and rushed her to the hospital. Later, Michelle recounted the harrowing ordeal, describing how she fought desperately to protect herself and her unborn daughter, Aurora. Despite her incredible resilience and the swift medical intervention, the tragedy was unavoidable. Her beloved daughter, Aurora, did not survive. The loss left Michelle heartbroken, mourning the life that had been so cruelly taken.
Last thought before I lost consciousness was, I can't believe this is how it ends. I have so many angels and spirits on my side. How is this how I die? And everything faded to black.
Michelle held and dressed her daughter Aurora for the first and last time in her arms. 2 days after the incident, Michelle sang for her daughter before she finally said goodbye to her.
I remember being at the hospital, and before they even took out all of the tubes, I asked a question with my eyes of what happened to Aurora. I found out that she didn't make it. I went into a full-blown panic and really going into some of the responses of what happens to your body after trauma.
During Michelle's recovery, 911 dispatcher Beth Keir, who had taken her call, made a rare visit to the hospital. Deeply moved by Michelle's resilience, Beth felt compelled to meet the woman whose bravery had left a lasting impression on her.
I did all the things that, a mom would want to do. I read to her, I dressed her, but not being able to witness her first breath or her first smile or even seeing what her eyes looked like was extremely difficult.
Doctors concluded that Michelle's injuries were far too precise to be inflicted by an untrained individual. The cuts suggested the work of someone with professional or specialized knowledge. It took 2 months for Michelle to recover physically, but her emotional healing remained a long and challenging journey. After Michelle's statement, it became undeniably clear that Dell was responsible for the attack. What made the crime even more disturbing was that a mother of 2 could commit such a heinous act, especially against another expectant mother. The investigation uncovered the chilling motive behind Dell's actions. Struggling in her marriage, Dell had lied about being pregnant in an attempt to salvage her relationship. When her husband grew suspicious, she devised a desperate plan to cover up her lie. Dell targeted Michelle, intending to pass off Michelle's baby as her own. She attacked Michelle, abducted her unborn child, and planned to present the baby to her husband. This explained why she initially denied knowing Michelle and later changed her story. While Michelle lay unconscious in the basement, Dell tried to erase evidence of her crime. She cleaned the scene as much as she could and discarded her blood-soaked clothes in a bag before her husband returned home. Dell's background as a licensed nurse further explained the precise nature of the cuts on Michelle's abdomen. Believing Michelle to be dead, Dell thought she could escape punishment. However, she underestimated Michelle's resilience. And when Dell learned that Michelle had survived the attack, her facade crumbled, and she finally broke down, unable to hide her despicable actions any longer.
That day, I left shift, went to the hospital, and went to the ICU. Now, I have never done this before in my life. I've never seen anyone that I've had contact with over 911. And I couldn't believe that she was alive. And I told her who I was and that it was her that saved herself, that it was her. That if she wouldn't have remembered that address, if she wouldn't have woken up.
On the same night of the incident, March 18, 2015, Dell Lane was arrested after the horrifying truth came to light. Her trial, however, did not commence until February 17, 2016, in Boulder, Colorado. Dell pleaded not guilty to all charges, but the overwhelming evidence and testimonies painted a different picture. Michelle Wilkins' testimony proved to be the cornerstone of the case. She recounted in harrowing detail the brutal attacks she had endured and how Dell was solely responsible. Despite the defense arguing that the attack was not premeditated and merely an impulsive act, the court determined that Dell was fully aware of her actions. Prosecutors presented compelling evidence from the crime scene to support their case. Throughout the trial, Dell remained silent, showing little emotion as Michelle courageously relived the traumatic events and described her fight for survival.
Did you get the baby out? Okay, is that the baby that's in the other room? Poor baby. Okay. She's not mine.
Dell Lane showed little emotion during her trial, except for the moment when her initial false statement accusing Michelle was played in court. Then she was seen crying. On February 19, 2016, the jury reached a verdict convicting Dell of first-degree attempted murder, unlawful termination of pregnancy, and 4 counts of felony assault. Her sentencing was severe. She received 48 years for attempted murder, 32 years for unlawful termination of pregnancy, 10 years each for 2 first-degree assault convictions, and 5 years for a second-degree assault conviction. Except for the 5-year sentence, all were ordered to be served consecutively. On April 29, 2016, Dell Lane was sentenced to 100 years in prison, ensuring she would remain behind bars for the rest of her life.
At me, and I just kind of reacted, and then we ended up in my daughter's room, and she just kept trying to hit me. And I asked her, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, stop.
Prosecutors refrained from filing murder charges against Dell Lane as they lacked solid evidence to prove that the baby, Aurora, had lived independently outside the womb or showed any signs of live birth. As a result, Dell did not receive any sentence directly for the loss of the child. Instead, the case was legally categorized as a case of fetal demise. During her impact statement, Michelle Wilkins held a cherished picture of Aurora close to her heart. In a moment of profound emotion, she chose to directly address Dell, speaking not only of her loss, but of the deep pain and betrayal caused by Dell's actions. Her words were both heart-wrenching and resolute, ensuring that Aurora's memory was honored despite the lack of legal recognition for her loss.
Ms. Lane planned this attack and left Ms. Wilkins to bleed out and die. Ms. Lane is to be sentenced to a sentence the court finds, having considered the mitigating circumstances and the aggravating circumstances, that totals 100 years in the Department of Corrections, to be followed by the mandatory periods of parole.
In July 2020, Dell Lane attempted to appeal her conviction, but the Colorado Court of Appeals rejected her arguments, upholding the original verdict. With Dell behind bars, Michelle Wilkins was finally able to begin anew. Reflecting on the outcome, Michelle expressed relief, stating that she was grateful Dell could no longer harm anyone else, allowing her to move forward with her life.
There were atrocities committed against me and my daughter that sent a ripple of pain out to so many others, and they must be addressed. Those committed against Aurora's father and all of her grandparents, against law enforcement and first responders who cannot unsee the trauma that you created, and against your partner and daughters who surely have guilt, shame, and trauma of their own to wrestle with for the rest of their lives because of you. I did not learn until the trial just how many opportunities you had to do the right thing and then chose not to. You knowingly left me to die multiple times. The only tears that you shed during the trial were those of self-pity to the sound of your own voice as your lies were slowly revealed. And yet, even now, you cannot come clean about what actually occurred. You embraced your narcissistic fantasy to fulfill the lie you created, and it was more important than my right to live and Aurora's right to live. This is a picture of her.
In July 2020, Dell Lane attempted to appeal her conviction, but the Colorado Court of Appeals rejected her arguments, upholding the original verdict. With Dell behind bars, Michelle Wilkins was finally able to begin anew. Reflecting on the outcome, Michelle expressed relief, stating that she was grateful Dell could no longer harm anyone else, allowing her to move forward with her life.
There was relief for me to know that she was going to go somewhere where she wouldn't be able to hurt other people.
Michelle had already forgiven Dell and decided to move on in her life.
So no, I do not hate Dinelle, but I am angry for all of the pain she has caused, the deceit, and for her selfishness. And this element is hardly fathomable for me.
Michelle Wilkins did not let her gratitude go unspoken. She personally thanked the people who had saved her life, visiting the 911 dispatcher and the first responders with cookies as tokens of appreciation. They were overjoyed to see her healthy, smiling, and thriving once again. Michelle has found solace in pottery, which she says has been instrumental in her emotional healing. She has also become a therapist, dedicating her life to helping others overcome mental struggles. Despite the challenges she has faced, Michelle remains hopeful for the future, expressing her deep desire to conceive again and welcome another child into her life. However, she continues to mourn the loss of her beloved daughter, Aurora, who remains forever cherished in her heart. May Aurora's soul rest in peace, her memory a reminder of both the pain and the resilience of her mother. What do you think about this case? How could a mother commit such an atrocity against another mother? And how do you think Dell Lane thought she could get away with her heinous actions? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, please explore our channel for more captivating true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest content. If there's a crime story you'd like us to cover, drop your suggestions in the comments. Thank you for being a part of our true crime community. Your support means the world to us, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey. Special thanks to our incredible supporters. You truly inspire us to keep creating content. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button to join our growing community. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We've got plenty of fascinating stories coming your way. Your engagement helps us bring more powerful stories to light, and we couldn't do it without you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.